I think we all anticipated this 2-game road trip over the weekend to be a tough one. And then you consider the emotional victory on Friday night against Utah. And I think a lot of us kind of expected a rough go here in Denver, as it usually is in the regular season with the altitude, style of play, and matchups. Now, they were missing Warrior killer Will Barton. In for him, Torrey Craig out of South Carolina, 26, 27 years old, defensive player. So the Warrior killer was out of the lineup, but I think everybody anticipated, after that emotional outburst, what kind of juice would Golden State have physically and psychologically to start the game? They kind of force-fed Klay. The story early on is, can we get Klay off the schneid with his shooting? And he hit his first jumper. Now, I don't make the story of the game. I tell the story of the game. And you can't tell the story of this game without talking about the referees and the lack of consistency on both ends. So I'll touch on that throughout the game. Unfortunately, as you see Steph and Kerr beside themselves early on, and Damian Jones is like a toddler where it's like you look at him and you know exactly what he's thinking, and that's what Paul Millsap did, anticipating the give-and-go cut from Klay Thompson and then a corner 3 ball from Torrey Craig. But early on, it was sloppy shooting from both sides. Denver was on the back end of a back-to-back. They had thumped the Suns the night before, as you see KD coast in as he continues to really look to get to the basket. More on that later. You kept hearing Bob and Fitz talk about how the Warriors weren't capitalizing on the cold shooting of Denver. It seemed like the only baskets that were going in were dunks and putbacks. I like this pass from Steph because it was on a rope. We all know he tends to loop that pass high, and there's too much air under it at a lot of the times, and it results in a turnover. Here's Klay off the dribble, pull up 3. He's going to keep shooting it, and he'll start to knock it down. We all know that. Now, doesn't Jokic remind you of your fat uncle in the driveway on Thanksgiving? His post game is atrocious, or I should say aesthetically unpleasing, right? It's effective, but my God, it's ugly. I've already been whining about Draymond's shot. Why not just shoot thousands of those little floaters? If you're not going to knock the 3 ball down, you have to have some sort of weapon. He's having a hard time elevating, and so that's an effective shot for him. I like to see it go down. Now watch this double screen action. KD's going to pick up Murray, and just as they switch, he's going to get sent into another switch situation. The problem is Draymond doesn't switch, and you get Murray butt naked on the 3-point line. But Denver, like I said, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn to start this game, and it was really just a sloppy start both sides. Here's a real question for y'all. Who has been better the first 3 games, Kevon or Draymond? Think about that for a second. You see him with the tip back. I love this defense from Steph. I know I don't often give him credit when he is playing good defense. Trey Lyles is a big boy on the block. Steph held his ground. They weren't able to exploit that matchup. I also like Steph's timing on his help. We know that Joker is plotting, so Steph lets him take a couple dribbles before he shoots down and helps, right? He has time. He doesn't want to do it too early because he's a great passer. And I know the Joker finished with great numbers, but let's be honest, the refs really aided in that. It's been well publicized, the lack of 3-point attempts and makes from this Warriors team early on. The first make came, you see, about 3 minutes in the first quarter, and it was Steph from deep. Now, Denver's defense is noticeably better, but what's the cost of that? It's offensive efficiency. They're not going to shoot the ball at as high a clip when they're exerting that much energy on defense. Just ask Klay Thompson, as you get a look at Mike Malone, which breast pocket is the flask in? You could easily say Steph is being more aggressive offensively to make up for the shooting that we're not getting from our other guys, or you could say this dude's trying to average 30. He scored 30 in every game. Tonight was no different. The alpha water polo douche, Miles Plumlee, came into the game and kind of dominated us. He's very physical. He's a legit 7 foot, and he's fundamentally sound. He hurt us in this first half, as Barnett kept pointing out. Not only is McKinney playing, but they're drawing up plays to get him baskets. Watch this closeout from Iguodala. This is textbook. The pause and then the sellout to the shooter's hand. That's what an effort looks like on a closeout, and we haven't seen a lot of those early in the season. Klay, a rare sight of him being off balance on his jumper, and then Jerebko, the newness. Watch, Klay thinks he's going to pop, and he rolls, and it's the turnover, and he's still adjusting. And then after the cold start, Denver, and it was Gary Harris that really got them going. Now, between those 2 young guards, I favor Murray. I like Murray a little more. I think he's a little more dynamic, but Harris was the guy on this night, as you see him knock down that corner 3. Very uncharacteristic. Watch Draymond leave his feet, and then it's too late. Harris, one of the quicker guards in the league, makes him pay at the rim, and that's where we're seeing Draymond really struggle. It's on the perimeter where you really notice how out of shape he is. Plumlee, again, coast-to-coast steal in the finish. This team's loaded. You have to write them in as a playoff team, given health in the Western Conference. KD ISO'd on the 7-footer, and he's just completely enamored with his mid-range pull-up, and frankly, can you blame him? But I point that out to say the lack of 3-point attempts. I think you could look at Kevin Durant's direction as far as that. Klay stepped out of bounds. And now, thoughts from Klay. Stupid shot not going in. It's got to be this dang beard. But my Xbox avatar looks so much cooler with it. Cost of greatness.
After missing.
Klay definitely in his head a bit. He knows he's been taking a bunch of extra shots to get going, so now he forces the pass. It's almost like a, man, get this ball out of my hands type of thing where he's frustrated with his shooting, so now he didn't even want the ball, and he forces that thing, and it led to a turnover. I almost get the feeling KD is like working on his drives. Like he's had some nasty Euro steps and finishes in this game and throughout these first 3 games, and it's almost like he knows the 3 balls in his back pocket, but right now he's working on getting to the basket and some other things. I love how Steph just completely ignores Iguodala in the corner. He's like, we know you ain't shooting it. Just takes his spacing and gets the 4-point play. Peep Looney with a little block party here on this possession, and he played 19 minutes, but I honestly would have liked to seen him there at the end of the game, especially the way Draymond's been lumbering around. Now let's take a look at Durant and where he usually shoots threes. Watch Jokic backpedal here off this pick and roll. Usually that's a pull-up 3 right there. There's plenty of space, but instead, like I said, very enamored with that, and it's almost like he's going for efficiency. Steph, there's the looping pass that's an easy read. And Gary Harris, you know what, Gary Harris is like what Jeff Teague should be, right? Super quick, but he just seems more competitive, right? He's a little bigger as well. I think Kevon and KD have built a nice rapport playing in the summer down in LA. You can tell that he looks for Looney a lot at that mid-range. I've seen him pass up opportunities to Steph and Klay to get the ball to Looney. Here's a KYP. They leave the lone all-star in the middle of the paint and jump at the no-name point guard. Look at this interaction here. Steph goes, hey, KD, what do you want to do? And KD's like, I want to ISO. And he's like, all right, bet. And he gives him the ball, and they clear out. Just an interesting little interaction here to determine what they want to do here. KD probably was a little more in rhythm in this first half than Steph was. He's going to go to the basket. That's a tough no call. Considering the whistles that were going against us, again, it's consistency to end the half. And, you know, KD bewildered. I mean, I feel like every game so far, we've gone into the half bewildered with the lack of respect for this team from the officials. And just like against Steven Adams, I thought Damian Jones did very well holding his own against a power player in the block, but he just didn't get to play much because of the foul trouble. Now this drop-off pass, that's for a pull-up 3 right there. Just another opportunity where KD passing up the 3, and then he ended up stepping on the sideline. Again, I almost feel like he's just working on other things right now early in the season. And this was just an eye test play with Klay, right? You know, anybody that's watched enough of him was like, oh, okay. That looks like a rhythm setter right there for him. And sure enough, he gets back-to-back baskets here early in the second half. This was a tough one on a deep post catch and found an angle in a soft touch. More from your uncle in the driveway. Tell me this is not ugly. And yo, I'm not a Jokic hater. I do question, it's interesting because Denver traditionally is a running athletic team, and he may be the least athletic star in the league. Steph, coast to coast, thought he got hit. And this is where you could see them. He takes a frustration foul here. And that's where I talk about consistency. It's one thing on block charge calls, moving screen calls, but if you're calling the touch fouls on shots, you've got to call it both ways. It's as simple as that. Same thing happens to KD. Go look for the meme. There's a good meme of Gary Harris after this, like he got away like with his hand in the cookie jar, right? And KD gets the tee. What's the count on KD's tees? He's already got like 2 or 3 in the early season. Shout out to my girl Fox on Twitter. I liked what she said. Not only did they get the home whistle, they got the David whistle, right, against Goliath. And I thought that we were kind of content coasting in this game until we started to feel like we were being slighted by the referees. It was really the motivating factor in trying to come back in this game. A quote I became very familiar with training jiu-jitsu is, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And you see Draymond with the late challenge on what should have been a switch, right? And I think it's just, you have his knees hurting, right? He's not in shape. And so you're just not seeing some of the effort plays you're accustomed to seeing from Draymond consistently throughout the game. There's the no call and then the run out from Hernan Gomez. If they were letting Golden State play defense, I don't think we would have been nearly as salty. And Klay's always a good barometer of how bad the refereeing is, because when he starts to get upset and complain, you know it's bad, right? Draymond, KD, they're going to do it every night. But when Klay's upset, it's where you can sit back and say, okay, maybe there's a problem in this game. The thing that Iguodala brings to the table when he's on the floor offensively is he doesn't allow the ball to stick. A lot of the offense is reliant upon quick thinking, quick passes, and the ball's just been sticking too long and forcing us into ISO situations. Draymond, you can see how hard of a time he's having trying to finish in the paint when there's 7-footers in there. And then Steph, whenever he kicks the leg out, I think they punish him. Whether he gets hit on top or at the hands, it doesn't matter. If he kicks the leg out, they're going to not call it. And then Draymond, he doesn't want to finish. Iguodala doesn't want to finish. And that's a nice, clean look for Jerebko. But I point that out with both Draymond and Ig in the game. It's like sitting next to a 400-pounder on a plane. No space. Here we go out transition. Klay finally knocks a 3 down to start this fourth quarter, cut the lead to 6. Jerebko still getting used to the switching. Right here, Klay has no chance. It has to be a switch. And again, Jonas, what is this? Game 3, very few minutes, so he's not accustomed to it. And Klay lets him know after the play. And this is the one that I think that irked me the most. Watch the head jerk. The head jerk, the European head jerk from Jokic really sells the foul. And Iguodala's had enough. He's like, yo, I think he went to the locker room. He probably went and took a dump, right? And so if they're calling that, that's why Golden State is complaining on the other end, because we're not getting those calls. I hate to keep hammering home that point, but it is what it is. And then I thought this was ironic. KD then takes a 3 that you don't necessarily want him to take, right? Where he's slow. That's not KD's rhythm, the slow shot. He's a little quicker of a player to find his rhythm. Steph, this dude was in rhythm all night, though. Once again in the fourth quarter, the defensive effort turned up, but would it be enough on the road in Denver? You're going to see the rotation and then the nice closeout. I think it was a 24-second shot clock. Dre got a piece of that, too. Did they credit him with the block, though? And then this has been the go-to set early in the season. Peep Steph sell with this, with the spin move back toward the screen. That's the key to this play, but we saw it against Utah down the stretch, and we saw it again here in Denver. There is a counter to it where Steph flares back to the far elbow. And here we go again. Remember, Jokic just got the call. Steph's not going to get it. He's got to learn that head jerk, that soccer player head jerk. Maybe that's the next evolution for Steph Curry. Take a look. And then again, kicking the leg out, I think, is a red flag for the refs. Here's some quicker, more decisive ball movement that we've been looking for. Jones is going to get the lob, but 19 minutes, 5 points and 1 rebound. Numbers aren't going to blow you away. Draymond, immaculate timing on that block floater. That's tough to do. Here's KYP in a positive way. Klay takes a look at who's in the paint. And he's like, fat boy, you ain't getting off the floor, and then continues with the bearded bash at the rim. That was nasty and shocking at the same time, am I right? Maybe it's the elevation. The altitude had him soaring and scoring like he was Jordan. There's a phantom call. Damian Jones, to be fair, I criticized his numbers. Anything he did was a foul in this game, so that didn't help. And then this, come on, this dude is 280, maybe 300 pounds, and Katie's dislodging him on the block. I hate that this had to be the story of the game, but again, I don't write them, I just tell them. And Joker tells them, foul is foul, friend. Listen, foul is foul. So Iguodala reinserted into the game after cooling off in the back, gives him a little dose of his own medicine. And it's really a shame that it has to result to that, right? Like, Iguodala doesn't make that play if the calls haven't been made in the game like they have been. Steph, good patience here. Klay, great cut. And I think the silver lining was, I think Klay got his swag back. Look for Klay to explode tonight against Phoenix. This was a 50-50 turnover here, I think, between KD and Iguodala. But I will say Ig put Draymond in a bad spot late in this game. And it's just, I think he's used to Draymond having more elevation and being more capable of finishing in the paint. Great late help again on the Joker. Forces the 24-second shot clock. So here we go. Can they steal another one out in transition? And as far as Andre goes, I understand the bounce is not going to be there every night, but whenever he's downhill in the paint, he's got to try to finish. It just becomes too much of a liability. And this is the dribble handoff play. They just weren't dynamic enough. Klay kept getting hit for this call. They had to change it up. Either switch it, go under, do something. But remember, foul is foul, friend. And this is the pass I'm talking about, where you just knew Draymond, the way he's been moving, there was no chance. There was no chance of him finishing that. Steph gets who he wants in the ISO. I'm perfectly fine with the shot, especially the way he's been shooting, and just couldn't get it to go down on the road. So here we go. I think they thought Draymond was going to be butt naked off that fake handoff and just have an easy layup, but he ends up going to the line and missing one. But luckily, Denver couldn't hit a free throw all night, kept the thing within reach, a 2-point lead. Steph, 5 seconds. Is he going to go to the left hand? No, he drops it off to Damian Jones, and he gets roofed by Hernangomez. And overall, man, I can't be too salty. If anything, you could be salty about the refereeing, but I like the trust in Jones, and I've talked about him getting off the floor quicker at times. Expect Klay to start knocking him down tonight at Oracle against a much more dynamic-looking Suns unit. And you know I'll be back tomorrow with that one. I'm out, y'all.